Welcome to a new episode of Advancing Consciousness series with Franco Di Nicola. This is a place where people can come to gain further insight and clarity as to what is going on and how we can shift things on a personal and global level, while also accessing higher levels of consciousness and awareness. We bring this series to you free of charge so that many are able to access this information. However, if you resonate with what Franco shares and you would like to support his work to get more content out, contributions are welcomed and greatly appreciated. A link is in the description and will be provided in the chat if you feel guided to do so. Also, we have many previous workshops, such as the most recent, Bringing Out the New You to Play in the New World, along with our membership program, Let's Talk About You, where like-minded people come together bi-weekly to talk about the topics requiring deeper understanding and clarity. All of these are available on Teachable, and we encourage you to check them out as they are great resources at very affordable prices to assist in better understanding this human experience. The Teachable link will also be provided in the chat and is also in the description. And lastly, don't forget to share. As more of us come together who are creating shifts in themselves, the more effective it will be to shift things globally. Thank you for joining us and being part of the change. Enjoy today's broadcast.
Okay, welcome everybody to another episode of Advancing Consciousness series. And today is episode 41. And as you can see, I've automated a little bit here. And in episode 41, there is the topic, there is you, the world, the unfoldment, and now what? We're going to be playing today to kind of take a look and understand what's going on a little further, and also our role in all of this that is taking place at this time. So this is the beautiful dance that we have the opportunity to really engage with. And as many of you have noticed that things have speeded up energetically even more recently. And we have some powerful channels of energies that have come through. We've also had some really powerful blasts from our galactic origins. Basically what we're talking about, several levels here. First of all of us at one point or another, the whole solar system received a very powerful blast of energy right from our quadrant of the galaxy, and also from the center of the galaxy, which also entails the other 3/4 or quadrants of the galaxy. And that was to kind of upgrade on a huge way. And that's a ripple effect from the universal, or what we call the universe that we're in, burst, which was also linked to an advanced universe, which is quite a duplicate. And in fact, it is one of the universe that my soul actually came from prior to taking on a physical form here. So it created a chain reaction here. So what happened? All the different planets within our solar system, in one way or another, has received a burst and upgrade for a very powerful purpose. And that purpose was so that our solar system would actually upgrade and align even further with the positioning energetically, consciousness, and also the spectrums of light that is utilizing to create reality, to create experiences. Because if we're looking at the whole galaxy at this time, the galaxy is a tapestry, one section of the tapestry that hosts, basically, if that's use that word, many different playgrounds and also different beings playing at different levels. And everyone, every aspect of ourselves from all the different levels are receiving these powerful upgrades. Now, with that taking in place, with that galactic burst that we also received, all of us, depending on our signature of our soul and the origin where we have a much more stronger connection with, is also received a burst and also an encodement and a turning on of sorts that has established us to step into even more powerfully the role and the representation of that particular what can we call it, planetary or solar system that we are from. And when I say from, we're not to confuse the idea that we come from any place in particular. We're basically source, but we have an agreement and we've played at certain different planets and playgrounds, so that would have allowed us the opportunity to be encoded and maintain a connection to that. Of course, with these bursts also elevated and also stimulated our DNA. And our DNA, as I said many times before, are transmitters and receivers. Transmitters and receivers by the different races or the different beingness that were the contributor to make up this physical form. Now, when you're looking at the physical form itself, you understand, or we get to a deeper understanding, that we are makeup of many different genetic encodements that are not from this planet, but at the same time was brought in and encoded and created a representation, a video game of sorts, as an individual character, which we all are, that is representing that part of it. Now, each one of us has different degrees of turn on, or basically connections to the different DNAs, which basically at this point in time, those connections will allow us to stream more particularly, more specific various beings sharing that has been provided. So this being the case, and all of this playing out in such a manner, it has allowed us to accept another upgrade, because we are stepping into another stage, another phase that's kicking in around the 17th of September. And that is preparing us for that change, because there's kind of a reset, energetic reset that can stimulate things very powerfully. So this was orchestrated to come into play, and it is very powerful. Now, of course, we had one of the last ones just a couple of days ago, or even a day ago, on the 9th, actually 2 days ago, on the 9th of September, but there was a sequence or a sequel that happened yesterday, and of course, or in this case, that happened yesterday, but also a sequence today, and we have another sequence coming in tomorrow that is also further streaming. Now, what is that doing? It's also upgrading all the sentient beings on the planet. It's also purging very powerfully old codes, old operating systems, old memories. And when I'm talking about memories, it's memories of operating patterns. So you'll notice a lot of the sentient beings, including ourselves, to some degree or another, are going to experience some very powerful transformations. In most cases, it may be quite subtle, but it is already preparing. So we will experience those changes along the way as we move along September. And of course, going into October to the end of the year. So I wanted to share that because many of us have felt and there's going to be times you're going to feel exhausted. You're going to feel that weakness and whatever else that's going on, and sometimes accentuated sensorial experiences on a physical platform, or what we call physical representation, or body is another word. So we may feel that, and that is because it's being stirred up to kind of present itself, not only to purge it, but also to change its baseline operating system within it. So all of that is all participating and assisting us in a very powerful way to really bring things to the next level of how we choose to play this game of what we call life. So many of us right now look at it and, well, there's me. Who am I? And I'm not even talking about what I've talked about in the beginning, who am I? It's more of a fact, like, who am I to be a factor on this plane of change? So we have ourselves, we have the world, and we have everything that's unfolding. And most of us, and some others, also notice that we've kind of created separations. There's us, and we got to deal with ourselves and work with ourselves, and we have the world and all the stuff that's playing out in the world. And then, of course, like the unfolding I just mentioned now, as things are unfolding along the way, basically all these things that are happening. And somehow we feel that we're not all part of it. We're kind of just the observer. But in fact, that's not the truth. There is much more involvement in every stage of everything that's playing out. So you are the baseline source essence that supports your reality and also contributes and is strongly connected to the earth plane and also the unfoldments, because there's no unfoldments that occurs without us allowing it and bringing it through us and streaming it through what we see as the world. But the same thing with the world, with all those changes that's going on in the world, all the polarities and everything else that is playing out, is still part and parcel of what we are doing and co-creating. Now, we have to understand, no one is miscreating anything. All of us are creating in very powerful ways to assist with all the stages that are changing right now. Now, we have to also understand, as much as sometimes it looks like things are moving slowly, and when I say slowly, I'm not talking about all the stuff that's taking place, but slowly in going from what we imagine as our world to be and where we're at, because there's different stages going on. Now, depending how, how ingrained and how much focus you put in the world view, the global view of what is going on, we kind of get more disconnected to the observation of how this is all instrumental to play out. Now, there are many, many people that really are not ready for huge leaps. And there are a lot of people that feel that they're ready for a huge leap, but they're not really. Because when they look at it, because there's programs and sub-belief that if it changes too quickly, they will lose control. So as these things are coming in, is allowing us to let go of the idea of control. Because the thing is, a creator does not control. A creator just does that, creates, expresses, experiences. The artist, for example, just to use that as an example, the artist is in front of a canvas and he's not controlling what is being painted or drawn or anything of that nature. The artist itself basically presents itself to that tapestry or canvas and allows that to flow. So they start to draw, they start to paint, they start to create. And many of us, that's what we do, we create. But the thing is, if you get involved in trying to control every part of it, we reduce the fluidity, we reduce the creativity, because control comes from an ego perspective. And whenever we're trying to control, we also limit our creative ability, our accessibility, our capacities are getting reduced at the same time. So it's a matter of basically being present with whatever's going on. So as our creator essence emerges more powerfully than ever before, then we are able to let go more of that control. Because the thing is, the last thing we want to do is control. Now, most of us have been exposed to programs of idea that we need to control our environment, our interactions, and so forth. We have to actually be so diligent in making sure that every step is taken so that we are secure, we are safe, that we do not step outside of whatever we imagine as a way of doing something of some sort. So this coming into play right now more than ever, we're realizing that that control part, that part that's afraid of change or letting go, because the letting go is another part of all of this playing out. The letting go is also letting go of whatever we establish in our world. And many of us have a difficult time because I work so hard to shape this reality, this life, this way of experiencing myself. I'm not ready to let this go. I am not ready in one way or another to say, okay, I abandon 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, whatever we believed is a way of life. The understanding here at this point is that's again the ego coming into play and associating, labeling, and also attaching itself to its past creation, past expression, past aspects of how it created its reality. Now, you have to understand, this is the other key factor here, and I've mentioned this several times before in other episodes, is that everything that we've created, even whatever our structure looks like, was created from a different state of being. A different state of being of you, yourselves, a different state of being of what the planet was at, the collective it was at, and the energies that were at, the positioning of our whole solar system within the galaxies, the streaming that has gone through, and of course under the banner that we have so carefully danced with for so long, and that was the inverted matrix, the inverted 3D and 2D aspect of it. Now, none of that has to be judged. None of it has to be a concern in any way, shape, or form. But we need to get to a point where we're letting go, letting free. Because that's really what we're doing. We're letting free. Because as you let free, you experience freedom. The more you become free, the more you become creative. The more you become free, the more you flow. The more you become free, the more you get into playfulness. And that is our natural state. And in playfulness, you experience joy. And in playfulness, you experience love, which is the very essence of creator source essence that creates everything in existence within this field we call source. So here we are. We've stepped into a very powerful state, and we're now going into further phases as we go along. So I'm going to use my trusted board here, and we're going to move, and I get to draw if I choose to. Okay, and if you can see it properly, we are in a very compelling, highly polarized time filled with excitement, concerns, and fear. What does that mean? Okay, we are in a very compelling time. We are in a very powerful time. This has never been experienced before. Not to this degree on any planet. That's the beauty of it. This is all new. And of course, this is not always prepared to be experienced unless you're designed for it. And our human bodies and our human mind, with the different connections of the upgrading that our sentient body has been receiving, the fact that our human entity has also been increasing and upgrading in itself, we have the other aspect that kicks in at this point in time, is that the souls that have come here, regardless of what role is played, is much more prepared. But the Gaia, the planet, every aspect of the planet has also gone through many, many upgrades. But it's also the main plan and design from day one for us to be able to do what we are doing. The only difference is it was going to move more fluidly at a slower pace. Of course, what happened is what got started for the first 5,000 years got changed. So when we're looking at it, so when we look at the start, we're at the start, And as we moved along, okay, and let's call it now, because we're in now right now, the first 5,000 years, we were at the, let's call it 5,000 years, we were at a steady pace. So along the way, we were at a steady pace, moving in these upgrades to prepare. So the point is, too, at this starting point right here, let's call it this, the starting point right here, this starting point was when we were already in our organic 3D and organic 5D state of being. That meant we were in an organic matrix that was organic in every aspect. There was nothing rewired or designed. It was designed to move us forward. So here we are. We started off at that point. And then for the first 5,000 years, we stayed in that organic state. And we were moving along very steady. Let's put it that way. But knowing that the fact that every experience was important, every realization was important, and of course, even in organic 3D, we also knew that every part of the experience was necessary to advance, because this was completely a powerful experience and a powerful experimentation of creating such a planet that was tuned. And I know I've talked about it before. It was tuned. Basically, you go from organic 3D to 9D. So I should put the D there. So that's the beauty. This is easier to clean. So 3D to 9D, of course, all organic. So here we are, we basically, at this point in time, was tuned for all of that. And that's how it was moving along. Now, of course, at the 5,000 years later, this is 5,000 years later, we had a modification. And in that modification, till now, or just before now, okay, let's call it before now, we were under a different operating system because this all got modified. So the movement along the way up to this point in time was extremely, extremely slow. But not only that, it actually went to a degrade of operating system. And what does that mean? Is that that's when the inverted 3D and 2D was introduced, and the inverted matrix. So all of that, so this period of time, which was 10,000 years, we'll just write 10K, the 10,000 years, things creeped along, but also worked in a different way, which was everything went backward. This is why we call it the inverted matrix, the inverted 3D and 2D. The 2D was a complete disconnect. Inverted 3D, everything worked backwards. And of course, the 2D was also backwards because it was just a deeper state of that backwards. Now, when these agreements were made at different points in time, before now, as we started moving along, things came to a point where it was important for us to upgrade. And that upgrade, what did it mean? It meant that we now are going to speed things up. Now, and so this was into 87 all the way to 2012, and we'll just keep moving forward to now being 2020. Oops. 2020. So what's happened from 87 to 2012, to the end of 2012, things speeded up quite substantially. But again, there were waves with great amount of space, progress, and changes and so forth, took a very steady pace, but at the same time, it wasn't speeds that, would be mind-boggling. So that was not really taking place. So it was moving. Then we stepped into 2012 where things sped up even further, and we went into a stronger phase where things happened more quickly and so forth. Now, there was some huge plans made between 2012 and going into 2017 to make huge progress to where we are today, or even before that. But at the same time, because of the readiness of humanity and really getting itself to integrate and complete certain parts of it, there was a slowing down process that took place so that things were extended further. So here we are in 2020. Now we really stepped it up big time. Now, the whole year of 2019 was pretty powerful, and there was many sequences with small breaks in between for each burst that we experienced. So with that taking place, with all of that stuff going on, as we went along, as we moved towards the different stages of going, we stepped into 2020, which is a completely different stage altogether. And as you can see where we're at now, we've noticed huge impactful movement where there's actually hardly no space between each wave, and things are changing very powerfully. Of course, we had what we called some strong polarization and accentuation of fear and so forth that came about this year. But then it doesn't matter what the narrative may have been that was playing out. It was exactly what was needed to prepare us to move even further than ever before. And this is why we are moving at neck speed. What do they call it? Neck breaking?
Breakneck speed.
Breakneck speed. Okay. I have to get neck breaking speed?
No, breakneck.
Okay, whatever. One of those things. At such speed. So as you notice, we're getting one phase after another of stimulation, encodements, different streams of light and energy coming in. So the waves of energy carry codes. They carry a sequence of operation within it, but also ways to trigger and to turn on some of the dormant aspects of ourselves, because we're fully loaded with many codes from the original blueprint with all its upgrades, and also the ones that have been brought in that are new. And the new stuff that's being loaded up is purposeful for us to really upgrade ourselves, so we are able to, in one way or another, to be able to align with the progress that the galaxy has made and the universe itself has made. Got a bit of an itch there. So anyways, as we're moving along, you notice now we're moving quicker and quicker. And as much as all of this is playing out right now, it's speeding up even further because we are choosing to be in a different stage starting in 2021. So here we are, we're going into the next phase of it, and that is going into 2021. We're looking at possibly January, but February, the latest, where we will be in a position to really prepare ourselves. Now, we won't disclose all the things because all of that is in the works right now. And the works is basically us from a back-end part. And when I say us, all of us that are involved, not every single individual on the planet at this point in time, but many of us that are even listening to this right now are maybe not super conscious about what's going on, but you're involved on the back end of it. Because, I mean, we all are. We all contribute in one way or another, but some have taken a role and made agreements to even step it up further and to be able to play it in a very powerful way. So here we are. So in regards to this, as we're looking at all of this here, it's highly polarized. Yes, we've been seeing some pretty powerful polarization taking place. It's huge because, as it was also said, that we actually stimulated separation even further, polarization even further. So what people call dark, light, right, wrong, good, bad, has been stimulated. But that's only to facilitate us to create a perfect environment for us to purge whatever does not serve us, and also bring to light some of the different role players that have focused, and many of us all have to some degree or another, but some very specialized have focused in playing a very unconscious role, very separated role, very what we call polarized, as what a lot of people call dark or negative. But that, again, you have to understand, it's still part of Source, it's still part of its perfection, but it does play that role. So it's been exposed only for us to realize that, hey, we've been sleeping, sort of thing, and we now need to realize that, hey, this that is playing out right now, does it really serve us any longer or not? And this is what we are coming to the realization, that that was all created to support that inverted matrix, inverted 3D, 2D way of life, which really is not where we're at any longer. Things have changed tremendously, and we've done this collectively. So with this accentuated polarization and this compelling time, many of us are feeling excited. Why are you feeling excited? You're feeling excited because you see there is progress being made, changes being made. It could be unsettling. Yes, it can be at times overwhelming and any of that stuff. But there's an excitement because you're now seeing through your experience what we've always wanted to experience since we've arrived. And when I'm talking about arrived us in this particular physical form. Many of us have already known for quite some time, some of us a lot less time, some of us just recently known and felt that we were going to go through a powerful change, and the fact that we were going to upgrade in a huge way. And now here we are, we're experiencing. So there's an excitement. There's an excitement of seeing all of this stuff coming to the surface. There's an excitement to see the polarization and how it just breaks up. We are excited to see some of the old patterns that we've all got lost in that dreamscape of being out of control. When I mean out of control, that's probably not the word. Being in a sleep state where we're allowing everything to just kind of play out based on the old platform of operating. All of that is all shifting at this point in time for us, and we're seeing all of that. We also, even with the lockdown that took place and the political stuff that's playing out, and as you can see, there's some of the changes that occurred actually brought certain levels of peace, but then localized certain rioting and so forth. Again, yeah, there's different narratives and different ideas and agendas that are playing out, but at the same time, it's kind of showing us, hey, look at this old modality where we were fighting each other, where we judged each other, where we had to destroy to bring out a point, or the fact of just creating chaos. Because there's all this pent-up stuff. So this is all kind of purging through us at this point in time. So seeing that from an observer point, from a source perspective, there's excitement. There's movement. There's even much more movement. And things, as it speeds up, as much as it can be intense at times, it brings even more excitement because you see it speeding up. You see it going into an opportunity where we can break down all the boxes. I mean, look at it. We have many, 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 many boxes that we have created that are holding back tremendous amount of progress. And when I'm talking about progress, and we're not talking about industrial progress, what we've experienced. We're talking about technology advancements, educational advancements. We're talking about accessing ourselves in much more powerful than ever before, able to use ways of expressing and experiencing ourselves that we have shut down. Plus, having the capacity to be able to tap into our brother, sister souls without leaving the physical form. And what do I mean? Accessing much more powerfully the experience, the information, the energies and so forth from our DNA, from our brother, sister souls that were the contributor that created what this physicality is. Because we have 12 different streams on an average for most of the people. Some have a little bit more and some have a little less, but in essence, those are not your standard. The standard is the 12. And each one of us are utilizing each input slightly differently in one way or another. But at the same time, as we're doing that, we're also able to access that. So a lot of these things are just taking these boxes open. They're just taking the boxes out, and that's all it is. So we're stepping into all of that. And there's a sense of excitement in all of it. Huge excitement about it. And this is why there's excitement. Now, many of us, have still a little bit of concern because there's excitement, but then there's also the concern. Well, the whole thing at this point in time, the concern is because the ego is saying, well, how do we know it's going the right direction? How do we know it's not going to pose some negative, disastrous, or disoriented state while we're going through this? Because, a lot of times people believe in one way or another is that, okay, if we're going to go from here to there, okay, this is great. We want to be there. Absolutely. This is where we want to be. This is now. Is there a price to pay along the way here? Is there a price? Does that mean that there's going to be a section of time here where we're going to be in survival mode? That we have to be afraid of? That leap from here to here as we're moving along may be dangerous or potential dangerous or whatever we want to call it? These are some of the concerns that people have. But really, do we need to have those concerns? Are we really, in one way or another, to be concerned about that? No, because we have the option. Now, this is the beauty of it. The option is free for you to decide individually how much collaboration and cooperation you want with any part of it. That means if you need to have a sense of survival, then yeah, you may create the scenario or tune into that band of frequency to have what you call survival. But that doesn't mean that that's necessary. It's not. All of us can go through the different stages and have that excitement and not have that. And this is one of the reasons that people have concerns and fear that in some way we're gonna experience lack. We're gonna have scenarios where we have to go into that survival. We have to go into that huddling together and kind of sharing and so forth. Well, the sharing is great and the coming together is great, but do we need to create that survival mode? Now, there's looming of that around what is playing out at this point in time, but it's up to us to initiate it, to activate it, and to be part of it or not. It's not really a necessity, and some of us will create that experience because it's enough of a kick in the butt, a nudge for us to actually let go of what we have as fears or programs or belief systems that were created from that state when we were in what we can call the inverted matrix mentality, and also from our ego labeling and so forth. Now, many of us have had colorful experiences growing up and whatever else in different stages in our lives, even up to just yesterday or even 10 minutes ago, that we have labeled as one way or another, good, bad, right, wrong, whatever it may have, we may have chosen to label it. But at the same time, as we even look at all of that at this point, as we look at every part of it and every facet of it, we can see the beauty in all of that, how it's actually serving us. And it's serving us in a very, very, very powerful way. So, as we go along, the concerns and the fear starts to fade away. It dissolves. It starts to let go of the grip that it has on us. Because the fear is not natural. Concern is not natural. Because fear and concern is separation. And it is also a disconnect to our own self and our empowered state, but it also is a separation from Creator, which you are a part of and are one of the instrumental creators of what we are experiencing in life. So as we're looking at that, the concerns and fear, whenever that's coming up, what is it doing? You're feeling yourself vulnerable. You're feeling yourself separated and saying, I need to go in survival mode because I'm outside of what I have deemed as a way of experiencing life, and life is not supporting me. Well, the thing is, you are your own support. Life around you supports you because you are creating that life around you. So the more you go into that, the fear just fades away. Now, fear coming up for you is an indicator for you that there are still certain parts of labels and definitions and programs and belief systems that are still somewhat active in you, that is bringing you there, that was created in the inverted matrix, inverted 3D, 2D, and ego, which again, for anyone that's new, the ego is an artificial intelligence that was all constructed and installed. It's not our natural operating system in the left brain that was used to perpetuate, to link, to operate within the inverted matrix 3D, inverted 3D and 2D, which again, all of that has been turning off. So now what are we doing? Our ego mind is actually, or the ego programming. When I say ego mind, we have to understand it's just the ego, which is the software taking over the left brain, or what we call the mind aspect of it. So it becomes part of the creation facet. And this is where we're shifting all of that right now. So all of that is coming up. So you want to look at anything that comes up for you so that you can go through the process of clearing out those parts, those stories, those programs, those belief systems as they come up. And as we go along, as I was saying, the concern and fear starts to dissolve. And it dissolves because it is not natural and it is not what brings us forward. A lot of us, have bought into the idea of what has been perpetuated for so long, that we need to be prepared in life. We have to stage every part of our life so that we are secure, that in one way or another that we will not be harmed, or that in one way or another that whatever is playing out is not going to be an issue in any way. Well, once we understand much more deeply that was the old modality and is not really what's necessary or beneficial in any which way at this point in time for you, then that doesn't even have to play out, because as we're moving along, that will not be part of our reference point in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so I may have covered some of this. Importance of being mindful as we are very much navigating our personal and collective journey while being instrumental in the redesigning of our human experience and world. So what does the mindful mean? Paying attention to our thoughts, paying attention to our programs, something plays out and looking at the story. And when I say looking at the story, is like, what is your pattern? What is your reaction? How are you responding? How are you playing out? So you want to be mindful of that, because really that is instrumental. It is part of your changes that, how can I say it? It's part of your creation. It's part of what supports, designs, shapes, brings in, aligns your reality. But that reality not only personalized, those realities go into the different levels of realities, which are, the family dynamics, the community, the work environment, or whatever environments that you get involved with. There are many, many different environments, including any religious or anything of that nature. All of it is carried over along the way. So that's what we're looking at. So when you're looking at all of this, is being mindful, paying attention to it. First of all, there's two parts to that. By paying attention, you get to see the stories, programs, belief systems, and all of the other stuff that was created from before that no longer supports you. So you can go through the purging process, the clearing process, letting go, the freedom part of all of that. The second part of it, then when we're looking at, it's also showing us that we are operating in a certain way, so that we can observe patterns within ourselves and allow ourselves to shift those patterns. Because the way we respond in patterns, the way we focus on our reality, very much dictates what our experience is, but how each individual that comes into our life affects us or engages with us. So a lot of us may turn around and say, well, all these negative things are happening to me. All these things that are not my preference are happening to me. Well, by paying attention to that, you're seeing that you're actually allowing that to come in, not as a mistake, but as an opportunity to see what is there that needs to be addressed. So it's going to play. So you're not going to be creating the old world, because many of us got so used to the old world, uncomfortable as it is and as outdated as it become, and obsolete as it has become, that we're still very much utilizing it. So what's happening is that all of that is coming to the surface so that we can see it and let it go further. Now, it's affecting us personally, but it's also a collective journey. Now, there's many collectives. So with the way that you become, the way you experience your life, how you interact with your life as an expression, as your emotion, as the energies that you carry, starts to affect very powerfully, as we said right a few minutes ago, our own reality, but it starts to change the landscape of your community, your family dynamics, your work environment, everywhere you go. That's only the next level. But that is also very much part of the co-creation of what we call the collective scape, meaning your provinces, your countries, your whatever, but it goes on globally. So globally, everything that's playing out is playing out for each of those pockets that are having their very unique experiences, but then there's a collective experience of all of that coming together. So everything that you experience and change within yourself, and as you emanate, because as more you clear out all of the older stuff and all the stuff that your energy will increase, your vibration will increase, your essence will increase, your sourceness will increase, and you become even more powerful, more impactful, because you catch the wave. Okay? What do I mean by the wave? There is a wave of energy that supports us in a very powerful way to become the grandest expression that we are. Now, that wave is what is being provided by the universe, by the galaxy, by our solar system, by Gaia, through us, but through all our brother, sister souls, or at this kind, all the different beings that were connected through the DNAs. So all of that is coming and being projected into this beautiful playground that we have chosen to collaborate with and be part of. So that's what it is. So we want to be mindful so that we, in fact, are part of upgrading every aspect. Because when we're talking about the human experience and world, let's use that one, human experience and world, what does that mean? Well, our human experience is being upgraded. It's being transformed completely. And so is our world. It's being upgraded because we are done. So here we are. We had a version of the human experience and world for the first 5,000 years. Then we had a different version that occurred for the 10,000 years, which we are just now moving through. So what's going on? What are we doing? We're taking this part and we're utilizing the changing of the human experience. Because listen, we're all source. We're all gods, if people want to call it that. But let's call it source, the essence of all existence. We are part of that existence. We are the existence. And we're an extension or expression of that existence in a very finite, specialized, directive focus to play whatever role we chose to play and have agreed to play. And that's what we're doing. So as we are upgrading our human experience, we're going into this natural state in a much more upgraded version of it, where we are creating the new human experience. Now, let me bring one thing into effect here. This redesigning of the human experience, let's do this, the redesigning of this human experience supersedes the human experience we've had here or ever even imagined. This is the beauty of it. We're uncharted territory. We're at the design stage. You know how a car manufacturer or any equipment manufacturer, they go back to the drawing board. Now, they already use what are the technologies they may have, the designs or anything else as a baseline. But then what do? They come up with something new. And that's what we are doing. We are redesigning it. That's why I put the focus on the redesigning. We are redesigning it from scratch in a way, while using the basic fundamentals of whatever we've evolved through, because the body has evolved, the human entity has evolved, the souls have evolved. But we're redesigning the human experience. And as to redesign as the human experience, let me just take this out, the world has to upgrade to it also, because the world itself, at this point in time, as we're looking at it, the world is the playground that hosts us. So Gaia is going through the transformation. How we see the world, because the world itself is a holographic expression, as you are a holographic expression within that field of sourceness. We are the ones, all of us, combined on many levels, that are hosting and supporting this holographic expression that seems very real, very tangible, and very experientially enriched. So this is why the importance of being mindful, because as we are focusing on that part of ourselves, we are contributing much more powerfully to the human experience. Now, this is the beauty of it. I know there's lots of beauties. Even if we said this is the level that we wanted to achieve from here. So we're into here, which is where we are now. And we want to, there's no arriving, but let's say we wanted to get to this level here. So let's get to this level. This is kind of how the plan was laid out. But it's only the minimum plan. This level is only minimal. Because guess what? As we're going along, we're setting up the platform higher and higher. What does higher mean? Higher means more elaborate, more experientially enriched, without the polarities. Higher expressions, utilizing more of our sourceness within the experience, without demising or limiting the experience. We're bringing it to another level of creation, another level of us stepping into something that is beyond even what we are imagining right now. So as we're going along here, as we're moving along, which we are doing, even when we get to this level here, we will continue, because at each level, what we can create expands, because this becomes much more tangible in our access of wisdom and awareness as that sourceness to create. Did you want to share something? No.
I'm just enjoying watching you.
Yeah, okay. Kimberly's enjoying watching me. Okay. Hopefully it's entertaining for you guys too, but also transformative and eye-opening. Okay, so that's the whole part of that whole experience of ourselves, redesigning the human experience and redesigning the world. And we're doing this together. And that's the beauty of it. Okay, more than ever, it's essential to be aware of what we are using to navigate and maneuver through the changes taking place while doing what has never been done before. Like I said, it's never been done before. Not at such a pace, not with the changes from one stage of polarity to dissolving the polarity at such a speed and intensity, and also creating everything new. Because the thing is, everything has upgraded such powerfully for so long that we have become a different beingness. Even our sourceness has upgraded. Because there's no way not to. This is our natural design. So even the best laid plans from A to Z has changed. Because what we had projected before were at levels of consciousness that were available at that time, even as sourceness. But where are we now? We are way more advanced than ever before. And we are moving forward. Now, of course, a lot of us would say, what do you mean advancement? Advanced? Do you see how we're destroying each other? See how we are, very separated and polarized, and we can't even, play together or anything of that nature? How could we be advancing? Well, that's a pretty powerful experience to be to be creating, because polarity has existed on other planets and has been used. And even what we call the Lucifer operating system was introduced on different planets and different experiences. But we are doing it quite a bit different than any of the other planets, and we've actually stayed in it the longest. And not only that, with our experimental, not also physicality, but the capacities that we've had plugged in as part of this experience, and including the world. You were going to say something.
Yeah, Terry just would like you to explore the term upgrade. So when you say upgrade, what does that entail? What does that mean?
Okay. So anytime we're upgrading anything, even in the terminology of computers, the upgrades meaning that there are changes in the operating system. And these changes reflect further awareness, further observation, further requirements. Those upgrades also change the codes and operating system to match more closely to where all the different stages of playgrounds and physicalities are at. For example, a lot of the upgrades are, first of all, the first levels of upgrades is to bring us from where we were here in this inverted matrix part to be able to step into moving forward. Now, of course, all of this, the inverted matrix, the inverted 3D, 2D, and all of that stuff has come in unplugged. The moon, that was originally the satellite. How did I do this? I gotta learn how to write with this. Okay, the moon and so forth, that was the transmitter at that point in time. The satellite has been shut off. So what we're doing is now we're moving much more powerfully. So a lot of the original design we had here doesn't quite match here, because so much has changed in the 10,000 years when it comes to the positioning energetically, consciousness and expression and creation of our universe, of our galaxy, of our quadrant of the galaxy, our solar system, and so forth. So the upgrades is to bring us online, to bring us to the level where we are able to function at. Now, the other upgrades are where different inputs are coming in. So there's an observation taking place where there are simulations, and through the simulations, and because there are simulations of planet Earth that are utilized to be able to see if certain upgrades, certain changes, how it actually plays out. So you actually create a simulation and then plug in those upgrades. And you plug in the upgrades and you see the response. You see the reaction. You see how humanity reacts. This is happening on the sub-level, on the back-end level. Now, there's another thing. I'm going to share this with you, but, take it as you wish. Believe it or not, in the simulations, you are involved. You may not be conscious of the involvement. In those simulations, you're also not only involved, but you're also providing input. This, sometimes we get a glimpse of it. Sometimes we see an alternate aspect of ourselves, in a sense where we're, doing something and then something looks a little different temporarily for a little period of time. It also happens in dream states and so forth. So that means that you're stepping into the simulation. And your cooperation, collaboration in the simulation is required so that you can give feedback. What's the purpose of the simulation? To see if certain upgrades, certain changes and so forth, how it plays out. And then there's also adjustments. Now, at times these upgrades are put into place. The simulation was one thing, but then when you put it into action in this projection, we notice certain other inputs coming in and so forth that may conflict or may create an alternate spin-off that may not be totally ideal to what is being observed as a collective, and then we will do an upgrade. So that means you now find a quirk or a glitch or something of that nature, or a conflict or something of that nature because of whatever else is streaming, and then those codes are upgrading. And basically codes are different instructions to use that sourceness to express itself and to play out in the field that we are playing. So that's the other part. So that's what the upgrades are. Now, the other upgrades are also the human body itself required, including the human entity, but mainly at this point in time, the operating system of the mind, requires new operating upgrades, and those are new sets of instructions to facilitate us to go back where, you know, after having 10,000 years of a degraded state, some of those codes are not applicable or capable enough to make the changes that are necessary. So then there is further upgradings, because the body is going through what we call a carbonic base or carbon base, going into silicate base and to the crystal base. We all already have a certain level of crystal, silicate, and carbon. So it's just the ratio is shifting away. Eventually we'll all be 100% in the crystal state. And as I've talked about in other episodes, that the crystal state, basically crystals actually hold more light codes, more instructions, and are able to be much more flexible than carbon, because the carbon has a restricted spectrum of light that it can operate within and a spectrum of frequency. And this is why a lot of people use crystals to encode the crystals through the sun, and sometimes through intention and so forth, because the crystal ends up holding that particular frequency. Crystals were used in radios and years ago, and probably still do to some degree, where they actually can be tuned to various frequencies. And that's why our bodies becoming crystal can be tuned much more quickly, and will go through different experiences. Okay, so that's, hopefully I've answered that part adequately. So more than ever, maneuvering through the changes, never been done before. Great. It is the very reason why we're here. It's time to get excited and explore the possibilities. Many of us had rampant, expansive imagination as a kid at different stages in our lives, how we imagined life to be. Well, it even goes beyond that, because the possibilities, as we're going through these changes, and we've already noticed many of us, our possibilities have expanded. Some of us are bringing in the possibilities that we had as a child, the imagination, the creativity, what we wanted to do without the restrictions. Because a lot of us, all of us, at one level or another, really saw the opportunity to come here to play and to do amazing things as limitless pretty well. And even though there was a little bit of a restriction because of the energies around us, because of the interactions we had, the engagements we had, and the physical state at the time, and the inverted matrix aspect of it, and all the other stuff, the inverted 3D, 2D, and the moon's transmission, we still had a powerful way of feeling that we had such amazing possibilities and opportunities, and we're excited to get rolling. And of course, through the educational system, exposure of media, and everything else, kind of a lot of all that tuned down. But right now, what we're doing is reactivating all of that and way beyond. And that's the beauty of it, because what we've experienced up to this point in time, we're actually bringing up even further. So the exploration of possibility has just reached another level. And that's not even the ultimate. I mean, this is just the beginning. So that's the thing. So by us getting excited you have to understand, excitement is contagious. Excitement is powerful. Excitement is transformative. Excitement is movement. Excitement changes such powerful energies around us in such a way, it doesn't matter how polarized and how negative, that excitement is not positive, is not negative, it's what we call 0 point. It's neutrality, it's oneness, it's love, it's sourceness. And that's what we're accessing ourselves as we're doing so. Right, Kimberly? You were going to say something.
Jenny is asking, do you have any idea of what the time frame might be as to when all people will be awake, aware, unity realized by all?
Well, there are different stages, and I know I've talked about it in different episodes at this point in time. So right now our stages started in 87 to 2012, and now to 2020. Here we are. So what was implemented at the end of last year, just before the beginning of this year, is that we have introduced 2 different platforms. We shut off the inverted matrix, inverted 3D, and all of that stuff. We've given ourselves a window of 3 years, which basically is right to the end of 2022 before stepping into 2023, to be able to make as many upgrades and changes within ourselves so that we are fully integrated, either in organic 3D or organic 5D. Because we have 2 playgrounds right now, 2 platforms. So we have the organic 3D and 5D. Now, of course, we all have the inverted 3D and 2D still active, with a lot of the ego, which is still supporting the inverted matrix. So that is still active to some degree, not to everybody, to the same extent. So it's changing. Now, so we've given ourselves 3 years till the end of 2022 to purge the rest of this, so that we are fully in organic 3D and organic 5D. Now, organic 3D and organic 5D already has a level of oneness within it. Of course, much more in 5D than 3D, but there's a oneness. So this part here, when we're looking at it, we've given ourselves the opportunity to experience and merge and become integrated and start to create at those levels. So we have until 2030, till 2030 to be able, actually it was 35. We're giving ourselves till 2035 to finish all aspects of the 3D so that we all become organic 5D. So there's nothing less than 5D and up, because we can experience, even in the playground of organic 5D, we can have 6D, 7D, 8D, 9D, and we can go further, but the thing is we're gonna be limited to how far we can go while we're still playing in that playground as the playground continues to evolve. Now, the point is, once this is all in organic 5D and all organic, this is merged, of course, then we have 5 years into 2040 to be fully integrated and creating in 5D. Now, along all of this oneness is coming into play. So we're already, as we're purging this, because this is the only thing that separates us or perpetuates, let's call it that, perpetuates separation, polarity. And this is the part that's fading. So when we're looking at it, by time we got to 2022, did I write that down somewhere? No, I didn't. Okay, 2022, this needs to be all completely purged. So everything is taking place right now, collectively, and also with the assistance that we're getting to purge all that out. So that by the time we finish all of this and we step into 2023, this is no longer. So basically, this is cleared out. That's the intent. So the question, or the answer to the question, is that we're already doing it. We're just staging it, and not everybody's going to be on board. However, as we finish this 3-year period, which we've already done a good chunk of the first year, so it's 2 years and a third left or something of that nature, that we will notice that more of that oneness, unification, unity, and so forth. Now, saying that, next year, when we're talking about 2021, you already will notice, and that's just most likely it will be noticed more by February, as it stands right now, that there's more unity already. It's not the ultimate unity or the unity that we would desire, but already another unity, so that we start to work together to create an environment at this point in time where we are collaborating. The intent is to let go into this 2021. We start introducing more of the restrictions that were there to open it up, to allow more things to flow. So at this point in time, you'll see further changes in the monetary. You'll see further changes in the systems, meaning all the different organizations that control our reality. But we're also going to notice along the way that at that point in time, we'll start to collaborate and start using some of the technologies and so forth. Now, they're going to roll out bit by bit, but again, that's only the beginning, and it just continues to move. As we've purged all of this, and this does not require the 3 years for all of us. Many of us have already purged a lot of it, if not all. But again, when you're talking the massive population, or what we call the collective, then there's much integration in that, and that's reflected. We can see it in all the things that are playing out right now on the planet. Is there anything you want to say? Okay. All right. So, there we go. Got a little. I think that's correctly spelled, but anyways. I just took a photo, that's why it looks that way. All right, as numerous things continue to unfold within the next few months, because again, we have much more to prepare us for into 2021. And so there's going to be much more unfoldment. Like I said, the next wave that we're going to see, which we're already in it, but the next pulse, if you want to talk that, and also the change point. And if you missed the last episode, I did talk about a few things that took place. So I'm not going to repeat it again. So as in the next, we will be partaking in significant global changes. And you'll notice much more global changes going on. And when I say global changes, we're talking about not only the climate itself, because that's a small part of it, just basically the what's happening around the world, what's happening within our home country or wherever we are. We're going to notice much more stuff coming to the surface, in the sense of things being more apparent, transparent, and also giving us the opportunity for us to engage even further. So we are initiating. See, the thing is, sometimes people think, oh, okay, we are initiating these changes, that these changes are done for us. Okay, we do get some support. We do get assistance from our brother, sister souls that we call beings that are off planet. Some are on the planet, some are in ships or whatever else. But they are minimal. Well, they're big in a way, but minimal in the effect that we experience personally and also collectively. Because we are really, it's never, ever, ever designed to disempower us. Because if they're doing it for us, we are disempowered. We are not here to be disempowered. We cannot advance in a disempowered state. We've played disempowered for 10,000 years, as I showed you before. I won't slide it back. But in essence, for the last 10,000, we played the disempowered, where we actually gave our power to control structures, companies, governments, elites, or leaders and dictators and all of that stuff over the last 10,000 years. And in fact, we've given our power to each other. This is the beauty of it. When you really look at it, how many times that we give our power to someone else? And when I say power, we just allow them to kind of shape our reality and our life. but we're doing the same to them. So every time we're offering it, the fact that you are not being yourself and you're adopting somebody else's idea of self, you're going into that disempowered state, right? So we're not here to be disempowered. We're not here to play in that disempowered role. We are here to be fully involved in the changes. So we are initiating these changes, and we're also the ones unraveling the new world. The new world comes through us, not to us, through us. We are all creating this new world. This is why part of the upgrades are there, so that we can create at a completely different level that has never been experienced before. And it's very powerful. Go ahead.
SG had a question. How can excitement be neutral, 0 point? Isn't it following your calm inner guidance? I personally love excitement, like a kid fully freeing our inner child, but my understanding is that when we follow our excitement, it can mess us up as it's not calm inner knowing guidance.
Well, in fact, to understand, the excitement is that knowing being expressed. That's where the excitement is. So you're coming from that knowing. 0 point, neutrality. What neutrality is, and I know I've talked about it before, but I'm just going to review it quickly. Neutrality is where you are not positive or negative, you're not dark or light, you're not any of that part of the polarization aspect. You're completely unified. As source, there's excitement. As source, we're joy. As 0 point, you're all of it. You're not separated. You're not either dark, you're not either light, you're not negative, you're not positive. It's none of those. It's all of it combined. This is the thing about the realization of oneness, is bringing it all together. It's not all of that. So in that state of knowing, true knowing, you have an excitement. That excitement is creation, creative ability. It's not like the excitement that humans have adopted, excited and unexcited, because those are polarized in a sense. It's like emotions. The emotions can be polarized. Emotions are, most of the time, polarized. But the thing is, emotions are a full embodiment of the expression of whatever you are going through or observing at that point in time. It's the same thing with excitement. So that excitement, as a kid, that excitement is potentiality. It's an open platform. It's like you, a kid, seeing, look at all the possibilities. What can I bring in and play with? It's not separation. It's not polarity. It's not seriousness. It's all of it combined, creating a whole new version of excitement. An excitement that is pure potentialities of creation. Go ahead.
This is something else. It has to do with the timelines that you were talking about earlier. Two people have asked about world peace in 2021. They're saying, is there going to be world peace in 2021?
Well, there's already part of it happening now. If you've noticed this year, it's been a lot calmer, besides the fact of the rioting and other things, unrest that's being played out. And that's just the purging process of going on and stimulating the polarity part of it. There will be more and more peace along all 2021. And it will continue into 2022, by 2023, from everything I've seen, we wouldn't even entertain anything but peace. So we're going to experience more peace in 2021, more in 2022, and we should be experiencing from everything that we are working towards, us collectively, to have nothing that is unrest in any way, shape, or form. Because by that point in time, we want to be in a very organic, creative, playful state, and the so-called warlike mentality. Because you have to understand, we are not in any way, shape, or form not peace. Our natural state is peace. Our natural state is fluidity. Our natural state is playfulness. Our natural state is harmonious, collaborative, expressive, and so forth. the judgment of back and forth, all of that stuff was all created in that inverted matrix component. Oops. I have to still learn how to play all this. Was all in here when we were in the inverted matrix. None of that was there before. This was all implanted, but it's not our natural state. This was never our design, and that's not our design that we're stepping into any longer. So all of that will play out in the sense where we are not in any way, shape, or form going to entertain that idea any longer. So as we're moving along, you'll notice there's more and more peace. Look at it this way. A lot of the so-called wars, besides the unrest and whatever else has been going on in local compartments, you know, the whole idea of world wars or what we call governmental wars in the sense of saying countries and things of that nature has been quite calm this year. And that's already part of the changes. I know some people say, well, it's because Trump's doing his part and whatever it is. I mean, everybody's playing a particular role, but really an individual is not doing that. An individual is doing certain parts of it, but we are the holding that space because we're not continue to stimulate all of that. So that's that part. You were going to say something? Go ahead.
Well, it's another question. It's from Raquel. Franco, where does one start to build the new structure, masculine lines, for self to move forward in a new world?
How do you understand that?
Okay, where does one start to build the new structure for self to move forward in a new world? So where, I take it as, where do you begin? Where does one start to build so you can move into that new world? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Okay. So it starts with us. Okay. So the first thing is we all have this new world, and all of us have this new world, and we're all a piece of the puzzle of that new world. Okay. So being all of us are a piece of that puzzle, each one of us has exactly what needs to be contributed to create that new world. But not all of us are in full integration of that part because we've been playing that other version. We've been playing that old world. So what happens now, as we're going through this process of purging, clearing out all of these older aspects of ourselves, connecting more with ourselves, the thing is, the more we let go of everything that is of a lower vibration, which was all constructed from the inverted matrix, inverted 3D, 2D, which are all our stories, programs, belief systems, and everything that we've learned and adopted and accepted as a way of life, all of that stuff that we have taken on, as we're purging all of that, not only our vibration increases, our frequency increases, our state of consciousness increases, our accessibility increases, our projection increases, our crystallization of the piece of that offering of that new world comes into play. So what happens is you start to see more of that world from your viewpoint. So you start to live it, you start to experience it, you start to use your imagination to see yourself as a reality of that world. And even though it's not immediately reflected from your environment around you, what you're doing is you're projecting. So how would I do this? I'm just going to move here. I'll look at that later. Okay, so here you are. And this is the world. So you are projecting part of this world. So as you're now tapping into that part of your reality, that piece of you, you start seeing your life shaping accordingly. And as you're seeing that shaping around accordingly for you, eventually what happens is this merges into this. So this becomes all one. This is already projecting. So that's this, what you're bleeding into there is also changing what we call this is the global perspective of the world. Okay? So you're projecting into that right there. So by living your life and experiencing your life in more of your true essence, you already are doing it. Now, you will also use your imagination to start designing how you want to shape your life. You, of course, write that down, don't depend on it in your mind, but at the same time, spend time visualizing that world. That visualization is the transmission into what we call the collective, and it becomes impactful. Now, I know we have our version of it. Our version of it that is coming into play here, but at the same time, it matches and blends with other people's version, and it all works together to shape that world. Hopefully that is clear enough for you, okay? If you need more clarity around that. So that's how you start. You start with yourself. You start to become that newer aspect of you, that clearer aspect of you, and start to use that imagination and start to shape some of your life accordingly. Now, some of this will involve some changes in your life, changes of some of the things that you focus on, some of the things that you're putting time into, some of the things that you are consuming, some of the things that you are engaging with. I'm not saying to pull yourself away from it, but you start to change it. And if you're going to choose to engage in it, you're going to go in as the newer version of you, and that's going to continue to upgrade. So it's not like I've arrived and now I'm going to be this. I'm at this, and then I'm going to go further and further and further. So you're going to see that certain things that take your time, your energies, your focus, and so forth may now no longer match that new world that you are designing within yourself. So you're going to start pulling back from that, or make it obsolete altogether by pulling out completely. The same thing with certain ways of taking certain roles. You're going to shift the way you take the roles, and you may not choose to take the roles, and you may take a more active role where you are projecting it. Not that you're going in to change anybody or anything of that nature. And the same thing what you're consuming, because food has vibration. What you consume liquid-wise is vibration. What you expose yourself every day has certain vibration. And you may find that you want to pull away from certain energies, certain sources, and so forth. And that will also change, because as you're doing that, you're actually uploading very powerfully change factors that are taking place. Okay, let's go back here. All right, so the next part here, it's time to access the power, freedom, ease, and expanded opportunity available to us through neutrality and alignment. Okay, this will kind of bleed into something else we're going to talk about, but when we're looking at this here, oops, there we go. I might have to change. I liked my purple where I was at before. There we go. There you go. All right. So in what we're looking at is accessing the power and freedom and ease, because life is ease. It's a dance. It's a play. It's all that. We made it complicated. We made it difficult because of that old operating system that we got involved with the last 10,000 years. So we're going to look at how we can, access that power, that capacity within ourselves, the capacities of how we can experience ourselves with ease. The thing is, the clearer you become, more free you become. You have more freedom to create. Life flows. Life has never been designed to be difficult. It's never been that push, 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 or pull, pull, pull to make anything happen. It goes with ease, because everything reflects us at that point in time. When we are going through life the way we have been going through, we create polarization. We create resistance. And resistance actually slows down the progress and the freedom that we experience and expanded opportunities. All of us have restricted our life to play a small life, small game. Why? Why do we do that? Why do we get involved in playing a small game? Well, that's what we thought it had to be. Temporarily. Sometimes temporary could have been 60, 70, 80, 90 years, or it could have been just a couple of years. But now we're dissolving all of that so that we actually get to see much more of the opportunities available through neutrality and alignment. Because as long as you're polarized, you limit yourself. If you're positive, you're limiting. If you're negative, you're limiting. Neutrality is all of it combined. Source is not positive or negative. Source is all. It's full spectrum. Because positive and negative are different spectrums from that whole full spectrum. It's just focusing on certain facets of those spectrums. As much as we think positive is better than negative, it may in one way or another, but it's still fragmented. It's still only a portion of your essence, portion of your sourceness. Same thing with dark and light. You say, well, I'm light. Well, are we talking full spectrum? Or are we talking what, the spiritual world has focused? I'm going to be the light and shine the light on the... As long as you need to shine the light on the dark to bring the dark to you or to illuminate the dark, then, you're still holding only a spectrum or a facet or a sequence of that full spectrum light or full spectrum consciousness or that sliver or a smaller part of that sourceness. But in neutrality and completeness of yourself, then you're bringing all of that. So when you go into neutrality, when you go into oneness, when you go to 0 point, you now allow all of that to merge and just become more holistic. That's the whole point, is holisticness. And I like to use that word. Okay, so what do? You do that with neutrality. And what is alignment? What is alignment? Aligning ourselves, aligning with ourselves, our sourceness, our essence. And with that, when we're aligning, then you notice that things move much more freely and much more powerfully. So, I didn't realize we were taking so long to go into all of this. We get to play here. During this transformational period, we very much influence the creator process in the role as a creator, because we're all creators. We always have been. But through this transformational period, it's becoming much more prevalent, much more engaged. So because we're in a powerful transformational state, your input is much more utilized. It is much more collaborative. Now, let's make some room here. So, what we're looking at, so that we understand, is that we have the collective is at a state right now. The collective is the mass. Then there's you. There's all parts, so many of us that are the you-ness, more of your genuine you-ness. So you have more of that. So what happens is, because of your frequency increasing, and you're going higher and higher, and accessing more sourceness, more creator essence, what happens is the focus, the percentage, what's another word? The emphasis? I can't think of the word right now. But anyways, we understand that the collective designs our worldscape. And the percentage, because there's a lot, I mean, when we're talking about the collective, we're talking about 7.7, 7.8 billion people. The people that are, moved forward in a way where they're much more aware and are more instrumental. Of course, is a much smaller number or smaller percentage of that 7.8 billion people. However, because of all that is playing out and the necessity and importance and the focus of us to move forward in a huge way, even though this that is higher, accessing higher aspects, is a smaller percentage smaller. And this is larger, so we're talking about percentage larger. there has been a shift from how much access, how much influence this has over this. So that means the world so here's the world, how the world shapes or plays out as the scape of what we're talking about is much more powerfully influenced by this versus this. And only this holds a certain layer of it, okay, layer of it to allow others to come online. Okay, come online meaning making the changes within themselves. So the world is more focused, designed by the ones, and there's quite a few of the ones, but still a smaller number in compared to the full collective that are discovering, accessing themselves, and are becoming more focused collaborative creators coming into play. So the influential creative process of our role as you being in here is much more powerful now than ever before to influence the upgrades and changes that are playing out. So it's very important for you to do the work that you are doing to purge all aspects of reflection and projection of the old version of yourself and the old version of the world, because it's not only us. Okay, you say, well, I'm an old version of myself. You're saying to yourself, well, that old version of yourself, yes, was encoded by all of that, but that is also a reflection of the world experience that was collaboratively created in that old world, that old aspects. So when people are talking about the new world, and this is what we're talking about, the new world, okay, it's what we are designing by bringing more of ourselves into play of that part. So our role as creator has increased. While maintaining neutrality, as we observe what is unfolding around us, will help us maneuver more effectively through the next wave. Because as through the next wave, there's going to be accentuations. There's going to be stuff that what the heck is going on here? Okay? It's not, dictated exactly how intense it will be, what it's going to play out, or how it's going to play out. But what the thing is we got to keep in mind is that as it plays out, by maintaining neutrality and not being drawn into or wrapped up into what is playing out, will allow us to be more of our full spectrum or higher spectrum of our state. Because again, it goes back to the creator role. So we're not taking us here and lowering it. Saying, okay, I'm not taking this and lowering myself to match more closely to this, because this is going to be accentuated. The old world's going to be accentuated at different times so that more of us can move out of it and make a choice of getting saturated by it and say, okay, next. And this is what is taking place. Next, what's next? Because we're not choosing to support that old part of ourselves. So by focusing or being neutral, maintaining neutrality, and not seeing right, wrong, good, bad in any of it, seeing it playing out, seeing its obsolescence, and you being you in that higher aspect of you, you become a very powerful instrument, a very powerful channel, a very powerful conduit of bringing forth that new world to be expressed collectively. By doing so, Gaia is working with us. The solar system is working with us. The sun is working with us. But it is also accentuating the movement from this collective to be more aligned with this, which will more powerfully support that new world that we're stepping into. We're already there. We're just not unfolding it. It's like this. You have your new computer, but we haven't launched all the programs. We haven't launched all the different features because we're still feeling we're not ready for that. I'm still learning this feature before I go on to the next feature and so forth. So the platform's there. Of course, this new world is upgraded all the time too, but at the same time, we're barely using any of these upgrades at this point, because as the upgrades go further, and the upgrades are happening with us too, because we're not utilizing all of our upgrades because we're still going through that purging process. So when I'm talking about it through the next wave, the waves that are coming in from middle September all the way through the end of the year into probably the end of January at this point in time, because that's where it seems to be heading at this point, you know, the more neutral of all this playing out. I mean, some parts of the world, there's politics playing out and elections and whatever else, depending on where you are. Again, that's impactful regardless if it's in one of the countries. It's impactful for on a global scale. As you've seen, even if you followed any of the electional stuff, how that's playing out. It's very amazing how it's playing out, and the fact that it's so much in your face, that polarity and how all of that is playing out. It's actually making itself so apparent for us to be able to be more of a choice point. Was there anything else you wanted to share, add, anything of that nature?
Not at this time.
Okay, can I take a nap now?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so that's covered part of today's topic. So now we're going to go into something different. There we go. And I can take this off. I'm having fun with my new board here. Okay, so we want to announce and let you know, if you looked at the description and any of the comments, we have a workshop coming up. It's coming up on the 20th of September. I don't know if I can write on this. Yes, I can. This is pretty cool. Okay. There we go. So the 20th of September. The reason we chose the 20th, or Kimberly chose the 20th, because then we are looking at September the 20th, 2020. So we got the power of numbers that come together. So it ends up on a Sunday. So we have a workshop from 11 to 5:30 p.m. and it's called Maneuvering with Neutrality and Alignment during the next wave of unfoldments. Now, this doesn't mean it's only beneficial for us from now till the end of January, for example. There's new wave coming in, and all of it likes to utilize neutrality and alignment. What does that mean? Neutrality and alignment. Well, the neutrality we keep talking about. It's a fact of not seeing right, wrong, good, bad, harnessing the full aspects of creator. Because if you look at it, creator does not take sides. Creator expresses sides, allows that expression because that's part of creation. That's express it. But at the same time, it's not to be held in place for a long period of time. And this is the thing. We're coming to the point where it's no longer that polarity, you know, light, dark, all of that other stuff playing out. And separation is no longer required. So it's playing with neutrality and alignment. Alignment with what? Alignment with ourselves. Alignment with all that is taking place, and alignment with our sourceness. So the focus of the workshop is really about maneuvering as we go along through neutrality and alignment. And we will go into it. The workshop itself is very process oriented, and we'll walk you through all the different stages and opportunities for you to access more of that neutrality. And I'm going to cover some of the things that we are going to cover in the workshop, so that you can make a decision if it's for you. We're putting this together, so we're providing you more tools to be able to do things much more fluidly, and also to be able to harness more of your capacities. Is it a necessity for you to do so? I would not say so. However, it's highly complementary, highly beneficial for you. It will support you in a very powerful way, so that you can go on the fast track even faster. But when I say fast, you're not missing out on the fun because you're going to engage yourself in the fun. So is there anything you want to say about the workshop? It's a one-day workshop.
Yeah, I think it will be, for me, like I was thinking when we were planning this, the neutrality is so important for us to maintain that, and it's super easy to get pulled off course during all that's unfolding. But the alignment too is a big one because I think a lot of us feel sometimes that we are aligned with something, but we're not really. We just think we are, and so it's really looking at what is true alignment in lots of different ways, and especially now because we have to use our discernment, and I guess alignment kind of go hand in hand as well. So it's really about us looking at what is alignment, what does that really mean, and how can we tell when we really truly are in alignment so we can make good choices for ourselves and move in directions that we want to at the right time for us. So I just feel that, yeah, it'll be important.
Yeah, and the beauty of the workshop, it's actually quite interactive. And we will be working together. If you can be with us online, live, you know, you can ask your questions, you can be involved with all of us collectively at the time while we're doing the different processes and walking through the different stages of the workshop. So the workshop is designed to really assist you into getting into that really powerful alignment that Kimberly was talking about, and while utilizing neutrality through it. So we've had other workshops that covered it, but this one again, each one builds on the next, and each one is very supportive and very tuned to the different stages that we are going through. So I'm going to walk through some of the things that we will be covering along the way. So in the workshop itself, I've put a little bit of a list together of some of the things that we're playing. Actually, I was going to do this differently. I have a new toy, so, you know, I have to play with it. Okay. Probably not perfectly aligned, but hey, what the heck. All right. So these are some of the points that we're covering in the workshop. So one of the first things that we're going to do, we're going to prepare you via a process to access your higher state and step into your ready state. So what does that mean? Prepare the process to access your higher self. Well, all of us have a higher self. All of us are a higher self. But not all of us are accessing it all the time. We're accessing it in glimpse, or we're accessing it in a state where, you know, we're so wrapped up in our mind and what's happening in the world and putting our focus in that. And a lot of times what we do is we kind of put the higher aspect of ourselves to the side. So we're going to do a process to prepare us for the workshop. So we're going to connect with our higher self. We're going to bring in our souls. We're going to activate our souls. We're going to, you know, access that higher aspect of sourceness within ourselves. We're also going to bring ourselves in our present moment and really put ourselves in the most highest state that we are right now. And of course, that's just one of the levels. And that level is the level that we're going to utilize at that point, because we're always advancing and we're going to access the most highest advanced state that we're in presently at the time. So we will do that. And a ready state is basically being open to be able to engage in the beautiful dance that we're going to do co-creatively together. Now, if you can't be with us live at the time, all of this will be available in video and audio recordings, which will also lock in the whole process, but it will also lock in the energies that we will create. Now, this will also involve all of us in one way or another to come together to connect in such a fashion that we will create a cluster consciousness energy field that we can tap into any time we repeat the process. This, if you're there live, you will also get a copy of it in video and audio recording. So every time you replay it, you will be accessing what we will create together. This is a thing. It's a the workshops are not, just here lecturing or anything of that nature. We actually create an energetic field that is locked in, available for any time that we access it. But we also are very impactful when we're doing so. And in such a fashion so that, in fact, that what we do here at this point in time, what we are going to be doing here while we're doing this process together is also very much so being projected into the collective. So the worldscape, Gaia, the solar system, and the galaxy, and it will be reflected back as a supportive mechanism, supportive codes and upgrades and so forth. So that's the first thing. We'll prepare you to be active. We'll be understanding what is actually transpiring and how it involves us collectively. So we'll walk through that whole thing so that we can look at it much more clearly, get a deeper understanding, and also possibly walk through different processes that will accentuate that for us. Transpiring and how it involves us collectively. I covered a lot of it today, but we will get into a little deeper, and we will also do it in a sense where we actually get to experiment with it live within ourselves. We'll also be talking about taking a more active role. How does that look? Do a process around being a more conscious role player. We talked about how powerful we are and how much we affect and contribute to the changes, but we're going to be at this point in time taking a more active role and looking at not only the process itself, there we go, we're going to be doing a process ourselves to be able to experience it within ourselves. We're experiencing that part of us coming through, where we are feeling it, sensing your effectiveness in the role that you're playing. So we'll be doing that together. Plus, we will be reflecting with one another too, so that we are supporting each other. Because sometimes at times we feel that in one way or another we're not that powerful, we're not that capable or something of that nature. But that's just an illusionary component of it. We are very powerful and very capable of it. We'll get to be able to experience it much more powerfully when we are reflecting off each other and supporting each other. We create that hub, that community, energetic community, our conscious community, by coming together during the workshop. We also will be shifting the physical and emotional impact. A lot of us are having physical impacts, we're having emotional impacts that we're experiencing ourselves at this point in time, and we're going to do a process to shift that. In fact, we're going to lock into some of the things that are playing out with you, get to your opportunity to experience it, to bring a higher consciousness, a higher vibration to it, and be able to, in one way or another, to shift that so that it is not going to be crippling or impactful to the same degree it has before. So that will be a powerful process that will take place that we will be also doing in the workshop. We'll also be looking at the responses of others and the choices. Oops, there we go. Will be also the responses of others and the choices we have, and how to take a lead. Okay, we're going to look at how we actually can be in the driver's seat much more in not only our reality but the overlaying other realities along the way. So what we'll be looking at, it doesn't matter what the responses of others are. We're going to be making the choice and looking at the choices we have, and how to take a lead to shape. It doesn't matter what the choices are. Like, for example, you're in a family dynamics and they are reflecting a completely different world. That not only it does not affect you any longer, you get to a point where it doesn't impact you in any way or form, but you get to utilize that as you now change in that whole field. Not as a necessity, but as a natural expression and so forth. You can interject at any time, wave your hand or whatever else, because I may not be covering all of it. So we'll also be looking at our responsibility role during this time. We'll be doing practice exercises on that. Our responsibility and role of this time. A lot of us, feel that we're waiting for somebody else to make the changes. We're waiting for somebody else to create the world a certain way, for our family to change, our work environment to change, our community to change, our country to change, our world to change before, we're going to see changes actually take place that are more aligned with us. And this is the thing, is really by us being aligned, we are accessing more of that piece of that puzzle, of that projection that we are contributing to the changes that are occurring on the planet. So we will be doing a practice exercise on that and seeing ourselves playing that particular role. So that's also included in the workshop. Utilizing the energies and codes streaming in, we'll do a process of that so that we can actually allow those energies and those codes to be integrated within you, and also to experience those codes being active. Now, some of them are already there, so we're going to activate certain parts of that. Others are just brand new, so we can tap into it. A lot of times when we've put things, blocked it out or something of that nature, we remove any of those blocks so that we are able to allow those codes to be utilized. And the only reason we're going to do that is to utilize it so that it is in alignment for you to be able to use it in the way that you most benefit from. Okay. I'm going to do this too, so we can see it a little bigger. Whoops.
Are you doing all the points I see?
Just some. Just some. There we go. Okay. So we're going to look at the default patterns and a way to shift it. We all have default patterns. Default, what are they? Those are, if something takes place, we respond a certain way. We created a pattern, so that becomes your automatic response. Well, one thing about automatic response is that a lot of times it's done unconsciously. And it was also done from an older state of consciousness. Most of our patterns and our pattern response, I'm saying most, not all, because some of them we've upgraded, but most of our patterns and defaults were created from an old version of us, an old version of our world, our old adoptions that we've taken on from old programs, old belief systems, from our inverted matrix, our inverted 3D. So what we're looking at is we're going to look at those default patterns, and we're going to look and create a shifting of that so that we could see the patterns coming in and be able to have the opportunity to shift it. And again, we will do some of that hands-on during the process, but of course we have to understand that this will have to be utilized time to time as you clear more and more of your patterns. So we're going to give you that as a tool, because there's going to be tools involved in all of this. Recognizing our buttons being pushed and the opportunities it provides. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at your individual buttons. We're going to look at some of the things that are playing out for you, and look at the opportunities that it's providing. Because a lot of times we don't see it as opportunity. Oh, somebody pushed my buttons, I got to clear this or whatever. It's an opportunity to show us an old version of ourselves. It's showing other patterns of ourselves. It's showing a lot of different things that are being, brought into obsolescence and cleared out and so forth. So we want to use every part of it. Accessing the power of presence. I've talked about it in other workshops, but we're going to do a little bit more into it, where, our presence, being present 100% rather than scattered all over the place, is very powerful. That's where we are accessing our creator capacities, and that's where we are more in the driver's seat, by being present, being completely present in every aspect of yourself, in any part of your dance day to day. And also in that presence, you have more access to observation. Through more access of observation, you get to see much more of how the game of life is presenting, so that you can go through the modification and you can bring your truer essence into it. Okay, so what I did is I did it backwards. But anyways.
Doesn't matter, honey.
Doesn't matter.
So just carry on.
Okay. And utilizing our most powerful state. We'll leave that one there. We're going to access the utilizing our most powerful state. Our sourceness state, our neutrality state, our alignment state. We're going to play with that, through that. The other thing is we're going to look at aligning our authentic self. It's a possible process. A lot of us don't realize what our authentic self is because we have created versions of self through the experience of life, through programs, encodements, through adoptions, and so forth. Adoptions of concepts, ideas that come from collectives, and I'm talking about multiple collective, family collective, we're talking about work collective, educational collective, religious collective, and all the different levels of collective that exist that we have tapped. So we're going to look at aligning ourselves to our authentic self, and Kimberly's an expert on that, so maybe she should come and do that one. We're also going to look at the 3 parts or stages of being in true alignment with anything. We'll see how that unfolds because we're going to look at that and we're going to play with that. We're going to utilize that part of it. The 3 parts or stages of being in true alignment with anything. Anything that's playing out in your life at any point in time. A pretty powerful tool to use. Releasing the fear. Many of us have multiple fears, and sometimes we don't even realize the fears that we have. Just the fact that we're resisting something a lot of times is a very subtle fear. Fear of loss, fear whatever. It may not show up as fear, but it may come in as a block, a barrier, or even a filtration or filtering of seeing the full presence of everything that is playing out for us. So we're going to look into that. And we're also going to exercise and practice with a new way of clearing, because it doesn't have to be difficult. And the reason part of this is now also upgraded at this point is because the energies have changed, and all these updates that we've had, our new encodements that we've had, and the energies that we've had stream through us, and all the changes that have been provided through those changes, and also the activations within ourselves. Now the clearing process, the letting go process, unless we give so much more power to the ego, is so much easier to clear all of that. And the final thing that we always tend to do very powerfully is we do a meditation activation to further integrate the materials covered. That's all within the workshop that's coming along. It's yours to participate with us, see how it feels in resonance with you. And much of this description is also in the offering at this point in time.
All of it is.
I'm sorry?
All of it is, I think.
All of it is, yes. I just basically went through the points real quickly. Because, again, I was going to go into it a little more in depth, but I talked a lot of what we just talked about through this whole episode. So, it's no use repeating all of that. But now to enjoy or participate at this point in time through the processes, and because the workshop itself has a lot of processes, a lot of involvement, and it's kind of walking you through it, because we're going to be walking together through the different stages just to bring yourself to another level. Feel free to join us and be participating. So you will notice in the body of the description, there will be a link to Eventbrite that will take you to the page that will have the more of a description, but most of the description is already, you get more of the description of what is covered and so forth, and then the options. You have the option to join us live and get the replays, which basically will be videos and audio recordings that you will have access to fully, completely. And also, if you can't attend live because of schedules or whatever it may be the case, that you can also order your audios and videos that you could utilize at a later date. Now, some people can't be there for the full time, so you can participate live for part of it, and then the rest of it you can finish through the videos and audio component. If you have to start a little later, same thing. You may miss the beginning of it, but then you can catch what you can. But the rest of it you can get in the videos and audio recordings. They'll be available. So, is there anything else you would like to share?
Well, someone has a question.
Okay.
Donna has asked, she's from Italy and is wondering how, she says, I know Franco has superpowers, but how those personal points of the process can be worked out in the video version. Because you were talking about people being able to look at their own, when you were describing. So can you tell people how's that going to work on video? Via video, not one-on-one kind of thing. How can you?
Yeah, I mean, the best way to be is in person, of course, live. But at the same time, go ahead.
No, I meant, how you were going to address each people individually, their things going on in their lives, as you suggested when you were talking about it.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm sure that's what you.
So
would
you
like
want to tell me how
No,
you're going to do that?
You're going to tell us.
Am I supposed to have the answers here?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have one. No. Okay. Anyways, how we do it, we actually go through the process. So you just follow the process during. Now, the process will involve for you to do work on yourself. Now, we hold the space. So even you're not watching it live, you won't, if you're not watching it live, you basically can't have the same feedback and asking for clarity or anything of that nature. However, we're all going to be walking individually through it while we're doing it collectively. So even when you're watching it on the recording, it's collectively involved. So you're watching us doing it, and you're doing it on yourself. The thing about the recordings, you can stop and start, so you can spend more time to it, because this is the thing, is the workshop will help you do a lot, but at the same time, it's very important for us to repeat it. So
I was just going to say, when a process is done, usually it's something that can be applied to anything that is going on in your life. So you can apply whatever it is that you need to look at, and it is kind of a it just said it. I'm going to say, I don't want to say one size fits all, but it's like a can't think of the word.
Well, it's like a tool, okay?
Yeah, it's
like
a tool.
If you get a hammer can do lots of things.
Yeah.
Okay? You can build a lot of different things with hammers. Okay? Some people solve problems with hammers. And so, the tool is the tool. And you use the tool for different applications on different parts of your life. It's like when we're talking about going through the different aspects of it, taking a look at an active role, or let's bring up this other part here, sifting some of the physical, emotional. We're going to just look at one, but you repeat it to look at any physical stuff that comes up, any parts that come up. So that's a tool. These are all tools utilized at different times. You're going to have to repeat it. All of us have to repeat it, because you can't do it all in the 5-6 hours, whatever we're together at the time. So, any of the workshops, we walk you through it. I mean, if we had to go through a more expanded version, I would do a workshop where we only take one topic, like one area, let's work on that, and spend a day with that. And then, of course, it would be most beneficial for us to be live at that time and just cover one thing. But here we're going to give you tools so that you can address some of the things that are active right now, and then go back to look at other things that are active along the way. So that's how it works. So use it as a tool, and because we're walking through it together, you can walk through the steps even though you're just watching the video or listening to the audio part of it. Okay, is that clear enough, or I need to elaborate some more? Okay, so thank you for the superpower part. We're all superpowered beings, so we can do a lot of different things. Now, the thing is, if you have already the intention to participate, even if it's not going to be live. You already intend, you may not be aware 100% right now, and you may be watching this after the fact, because I mean, we're not that far away, or what, less than a little over a week away from the workshop. Your higher self already has an intent to participate in one way or another, even if you're watching it a month later, for example. The fact that your intent is there, your energy will be involved in the workshop. It will have the specific codes for you when you're ready to watch it. That could be on the replay, which could start right away, or it can be weeks or months later on. All of it will be involved. This is the thing. Now, the other part of it, we have to understand, any workshop that is provided at this point, while you're live, or even when you watch it the first time, because you're watching the recording, you're going to get a lot of content. You're going to get a lot of parts and processes. You're going to upgrade. However, that's only a small part of what you can use afterwards again, because, and we can have tons of testimonials that will say the same thing, is that each time you listen to it, each time you repeat the process, not only are you more capable, not only that you're able to access even more, the information expands. You actually get more that you didn't receive the first time because you weren't quite ready for it, because there were so many other things playing out. I've had people that listen to the workshops later, and Kimberly, I'll let you put your 2 cents in that too, but that have and said, I don't know how it is, but every time I listen to it, there's even more. Things that I thought I didn't even know it was even covered. Well, because there's so much. And the same thing with the episodes. This is why it's important to repeat the episodes. This is the reason why, you know, one sitting can be overwhelming, depending on what state you're in. Some of you are like sponges that are taking it in and making changes, but however, each time you listen to it, it's impactful. Same thing with the workshops. The workshops actually are designed in such a fashion, co-collaborated with your higher self, co-collaborated with your human entity, co-collaborated with the consciousness within your physicality, to allow certain amount of not only the energies being streamed, but the information being streamed and the utilization of the tools based on the different levels that you're in, because you are progressing along the way. So you are, each time you're achieving higher and higher levels, and each time those tools become more instrumental for you to utilize. So even though you watched it at this state, at this point in time, by here you're able to access even more. You become more efficient. It's like anything that you learn or utilize in your life, you become better and better at it. You upgrade it. You change every aspect of it. Your skill sets go up. But the thing is, right now, your consciousness increases. Your capacities and capabilities increases. So you get to utilize more and more of it. You're going to put your stamp.
Donna was asking about if we'd suggest that it's better to follow it live or via video. I guess it's like follow your own guidance on that. Like Franco said, you can get lots being there live, but you can still get lots repeating and watching the recordings over and over again, because there is always so much information, and it is kind of hard to absorb it all in one day. So
it is. And if at all possible, you can join us live. That's the best. You will also get the audios and videos for it to repeat. This is why we provide it, because you're not going to get all of it in one sitting. Okay? And every process that we start, there's many topics, many subjects, many programs that we have to address, and we can't do it all in one sitting. So you're going to, and some of the stuff is going to be invisible. And when I say invisible, that means that we're not going to be able to see certain programs until we address certain other ones before. So it's like this, you know, like you say, the onion skin, right? So here's your onion, okay? The onion skin, the onion has many layers of skin. So sometimes you can't really access this one until you've actually removed. You removed some of these other ones here. And then you're able to see this other one here until you get more to the core. And when you're in the core, guess what? You're here, you are in the more pure state that is kind of let go. So the thing is, that's why it's important to repeat, because each time you're doing it, you're removing onion skins. I know some people have said, hey, listen, I keep clearing, I keep working on stuff, and there seems to be more and more and more. It seems like endless. Well, it's not really so much the endless, it's just the fact that you're getting to different layers. The only benefit of all of this is that you're getting more efficient to get to the layers. You're more efficient to clear the layers, and it doesn't have to be such a difficult process like it used to be once upon a time. It is much, much easier now than ever before. I can relate with that because in 35 plus years that I've been doing sessions and working with people at different times, and some of the courses I've done to assist people and whatever else, it was much more involved to clear programs, because not only was the energy much more denser, and there was a lot more people in reflecting exactly what we were experiencing in the sense of keeping us down in that same playground without growing into that playground, not going into those higher levels. So it was a lot more detailed, and it took a lot more to do. Now it's not, because it's the opposite. Now it's supporting us to get to the layers a lot faster. So, all said and done, enjoy the opportunity, take advantage of the opportunity to join us at this upcoming workshop on the 20th of September, which is a Sunday. Starts at 11 a.m. Eastern Time till about 5:30, 6 o'clock, sometimes a couple of minutes after that, p.m. on the 20th. And let's bring ourselves to the next level. I thank everybody for your contributions and supporting us in doing this work. It's helping us to also upgrade certain things so that we can become much more effective. It is also helping us to put some other things out. We will be launching some new stuff very shortly that is in its final completed state. So stay tuned. We will let you know as things go along. So right now, enjoy this episode as you repeat it yourself. Register for the workshop as quickly as you can so that you've already start making plans and commitment to yourself. And at the same time, we'll see you next Tuesday, unless something changes. We'll see you next Tuesday for our next episode of Advancing Consciousness series.